So why ask for help? Because no matter what profession you're in, being able to get good expert help is the ultimate force multiplier. It's the most surefire way to make you more productive and more effective in your job. So the goal of this talk is to give some tips that will make people want to help you. The first thing to keep in mind is that this is what you're contending with. This is the typical calendar of a busy person, of somebody who is going to be in a position to give you good advice. A manager, a professor, a director of your company, an executive, an investor. So their schedule is completely booked, sometimes double or triple booked, with half-hour and 1-hour meetings. And your goal is to be able to slip into that busy schedule somewhere in a half-hour time slot and get the help you need. What they're going through in their minds is how much potential impact will my words have on you, the person asking for help, divided by how much time do I have to spend helping you. In order to set up a meeting, you want to set a very, very short email because busy people are overloaded with emails, or even better, send no email. If you can catch them in person sometime and ask them, can I stop by your office sometime? That's even better because they don't have to process your email. You have to be very flexible about when you schedule your meetings because, again, they're very busy. Think about their calendar, right? You need to accommodate their schedule, not the other way around. And lastly, schedule meetings less than 30 minutes. There's no way you need to take up more than 30 minutes of their time. Let's say you schedule a meeting and you're about to get into their office. This is what they're thinking in their heads. How much potential impact do my words have versus the amount of time I'm going to spend talking to this person? First things first, show up on time. Nothing makes a worse impression than showing up late to a meeting, right? Show up early, wait outside their office, and get in right exactly on the dot. Then you've got to establish shared context. Remember, they're really busy with meetings all day, running around, talking to different kinds of people. You need to establish why you're there, what context you share with them, and why you need help. But at the same time, you want to get to the point really quickly. You don't want to spend 10, 15 of your 30 minutes just rambling on and on. So once I was at a company and I was asking a director for help and I just rambled on, and then she cut me off abruptly. She just said, so how can I help? And that was her polite way of saying, you're rambling for way too long, get to the point, what can I do? You need to demonstrate really high competence. You're asking for help because you're not an expert in an area and you need some guidance. But at the same time, people are most likely and willing to help those who actually are very competent. So you need to do your homework beforehand, show that you're learning and you're progressing on the right path, and that you just need a little more of a nudge in order to get even farther. And similarly, you don't want to appear needy, right? You don't want to appear like you really don't know what you're doing, you're desperate, you really need them to go save you. So again, the paradox is that experts like helping people who can already help themselves. So show that you can already help yourself and you just need a little bit more of a boost from them. You want to have an optimistic yet realistic tone. They're so busy all day dealing with all sorts of stresses. You want to come in, you want to be optimistic, you want to be fresh, but at the same time, you want a realistic tone too, right? You have to acknowledge that there are challenges in what you're trying to do, and what you're trying to do and what you want their advice on how to do is difficult and challenging. And you don't want to appear naive. People don't like helping people who seem way too naive because, again, their words might not actually have a great of an impact because if you're so naive and ignorant of things, then you might not actually implement their ideas. On a related note, you want to appear open and receptive while they're talking to you and giving you advice. They're going to be giving their advice and their take on things, and it might not be exactly what you had in mind, but you need to be really open-minded and really absorb what they're saying and be very attentive. And believe me, people can tell when someone is being very attentive and receptive or being very closed off and closed-minded. You should take a lot of notes, so bring a notepad with you and take notes, and that's another way to show that you're receptive to their ideas. Here's an essay by the investor Paul Graham about startups. I'm going to let you spend some time to pause the video and read this quote. And here's the other part of the quote. So what Paul's saying is what I've been saying in this talk is that for him, the startups that seem to do really well were the ones where the founders seem to be very self-reliant and have very high competence, and that they would be fine even without his help. But with his help, they would do even better. So he felt the best helping those sorts of founders and not the ones who seem very closed off and hard to talk to and not receptive. So when your 30 minutes is up, get out on time. Keep a very close eye on the clock and don't be late because, again, they're really busy with a lot of meetings. If you're staying over, they're going to have to awkwardly shoo you out of their office, and it's not fun for anybody. And right after you leave, they're not really thinking, they're feeling, right? So they actually have one gut feeling about you. Was this a positive interaction with this person, or was this a negative interaction? And obviously you want to leave a positive impression on them after you leave. A short, polite follow-up email is always a good idea. It's a great thing to do, and it doesn't take a lot of time. More importantly, if you actually act on their advice and get good results, say if someone gave you some career advice and then you went to do a job interview and got a new job, thanks in part to that advice, send them a follow-up email in a few months and say, oh, thank you for meeting with me a few months ago and giving me this advice. I took it and it worked really well. Nothing is more gratifying to someone giving advice than seeing someone implement their advice and actually have a positive impact. So that's it. So think about, again, potential impact over time spent. So starting with the denominator, set up with a short or no email. Be very flexible in your scheduling. Schedule meetings less than 30 minutes. And then for the numerator, at the meeting, you want to demonstrate high competence, that you know what you're doing. You want to demonstrate openness and receptiveness to their ideas, and send a good follow-up email.